Good morning, everyone. Welcome to JR Now, our webinar series. Today we have a great panel talking about film and music in Oklahoma and what the next steps are. Our sponsor today is Oklahoma Film and Music. They strive to support and connect local, national, and international filmmakers with Oklahoma's skilled crew, talent, production services, and diverse locations, which span across 12 eco-regions. Film and Music also promotes and showcases Oklahoma's rich musical heritage and connects emerging artists of all genre to music venues and businesses across the state. Their purpose is to grow the film and music industry statewide. I'm going to play a video from them real quick, and then we'll get started on our panel.
Join the Oklahoma Film and Music Office and some of the state's most esteemed film and music professionals for the pivotal work Early Access Online Video Series to learn more about workforce, education, and production opportunities in the state's entertainment industries.
So this morning we have Steve Metzer with us. He is our assistant editor. He will serve as the moderator of the panel. Oops, sorry, let me get that stopped. Then we also have with us Tava Sofsky. Tava is a Cherokee native, visionary, and trailblazer who began her career as an entrepreneur in the motion picture industry in California immediately after graduating from OU. 20 years later, she was recruited by Oklahoma Film and Music Office to lead the state's film and music industry to an elite production center. In her tenure, the film industry has experienced 400% growth in statewide economic impact and recruited over 120 films to be made here in Oklahoma. We also have with us this morning Cassidy Lunnen. Cassidy is the CEO and co-owner of Red Clay Studios. She has worked in the film industry as a producer for 20 plus years in all aspects of entertainment, film, television, commercials, and music. She's currently the CEO and co-owner of Red Clay Studios. We also have with us Matt Payne and Rachel Cannon. They are both with Prairie Surf Media. They serve as co-chief executive officers in Oklahoma City. They're focused on multi-platform content creation along with Prairie Surf Studios, home to 5 of the largest clear span sound stages in the metro. And finally, we have with us Melodie Garneau. She's the president of Green Pastures Studio. She's a pioneer in the Oklahoma film industry, focusing on building relationships and infrastructure within the state to expand the industry, creating jobs, reviving communities, and raising the state's profile. As the previous owner of the Paramount Building on Film Row, she's championed filmmaking within Oklahoma, from student films to large budget movies, and understands our state's rich film and television history. And with that, Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, I appreciate those introductions, Sarah. These are a fine panel, and I appreciate you all taking the time to visit with us. Film and TV is a really interesting topic and timely topic for Oklahoma right now. It's an exciting time for our state, and we're interested to learn as much as we can. So I thought I'd lead off with a question or two for Matt and Rachel. Matt and Rachel, you spent a lot of time developing careers in different sectors of the film industry in Los Angeles, I understand, before returning to Oklahoma. What brought you back to Oklahoma? And I'd like to know if the state is living up to your expectations so far, what all you had hoped for, and how you see how the industry is developing in Oklahoma so far.
Sure. Thanks everybody for joining. It's exciting to get to be a part of this panel, so thank you guys for hosting it. Yeah, I worked I was in Los Angeles for 15 years, working mostly as a screenwriter on big television shows, so mostly CBS, but a TNT show, and kind of got a little burned out, to be completely honest, and moved to Oklahoma because I saw that there was an energy in Oklahoma that I just wasn't finding in California. There was creativity here, there was innovation. It was a city that was very much, and a state that was very much on the rise. And when I got here, I just kind of got sucked into the Oklahoma film world. I started making my own documentaries, teaching, and kind of out of that, really saw that there was an enormous potential here, not just to have a small film industry, but a huge industry. And when Rachel and I connected, when she moved back, we started kind of exploring how best to do that, whether it was creating our own content like we've been doing, or build something. And we decided that we'd had a pretty robust creative careers, and it was time to kind of give back. And that was kind of the genesis of how I got to this place. I'll let Rachel speak to it as well.
Rachel Cannon. I spent the last 20 years out in Los Angeles working as an actress, focusing primarily in sitcoms because it's where my heart is. But worked on 2.5 Men, Big Bang Theory. I got to do the last season of Mad Men, which was an incredible experience. In the last 6 seasons, I worked for a show called Fresh Off the Boat on ABC. And as Fresh Off the Boat was starting to come to an end, and I had become a mother, I noticed that a lot of the opportunities that I was having for my next job, none of them were in California anymore. So while I had moved from Oklahoma to California to pursue a career in the industry, I started noticing that most of my opportunities were in Atlanta or New York or Vancouver or New Mexico or Australia. Like nothing was really happening in California as much anymore. And so I took that as an opportunity to come home, be closer to my family, buy a house, let my child have an upbringing more similar to mine, and that I would just travel for work. So the last 1.5 years, I traveled back and forth for Fresh Off the Boat. And it was an easy experience and something that I really enjoyed. But as soon as I moved back, I hooked up with Matt, and we started talking about, you have this hunger for the entertainment industry that is already existing because of the incredible foundation that exists in Oklahoma. You have a state with an incentive program that they're excited to bring it here. You have a workforce that's already working. What we found was missing was the infrastructure. There were no sound stages to really capture the TV series and the big budget movies, and to really create that sustainability for an industry. So I would say it's absolutely living up to my expectations. In 9 months, we took over the biggest building downtown with 1.3 million square feet, and we turned it into a film studio. There are other film studios popping up all over the state. There are lighting and grip companies popping up. Like there is an industry that is happening here, and we're just really excited to swing the gate open and to bring in more consistent jobs and to really have a sustainable foundation here.
It's great. So it appears that we've got some real momentum going on in the industry in Oklahoma. I'd like to find out more about studios that have been established here. Ms. Garneau, you've been an advocate for the film and TV industry for a long time, I understand. How did you get involved in development of Green Pastures Studio? And tell me about it. I understand it's a former property of Oklahoma Public Schools.
That's true. And first I want to say, I want everyone to stop saying I've been at it a long time or the pioneer part or something, because, I'm less than 100, I promise you. So yes, we have out here in Spencer, which is a great location. There's so many locations out here to shoot outside, inside. The studio, it used to be an elementary school, which was closed because of the consolidations, but it proved to be the perfect spot for what we needed, because the gym, for one thing, is very tall ceilings. It's put thick walls and ceilings, so it's very helpful to kill sound, right? You don't want any sound, outside sound or sound getting out. So we have done, we have a 6,000 square foot stage there with 27-foot ceiling. So it's got elephant doors, the whole thing that's needed to film in there. So it's a fully functioning, actually working studio, sound stage. So And picking up on Rachel's point, those things are needed. But we also have the Film Academy where we're teaching crew, because one of the things we learned when we went with Tava and some of the legislators out to Atlanta studios or out to California, in LA, is that the incentive program, which we are all working on trying to get to increase here in the Oklahoma, but it's better than a lot of places. And we have all the ecosystems. What we were missing with some sound stages and the crew. So it takes a lot of crew on a film, obviously, a lot more than you would imagine. So we teach all kinds of, not acting and directing, but we teach the grips and the camera, the dolly grips and all the PAs that you need on a set and scripting and all of that sort of thing. So it's been great. The facility lends itself well to that. We have like 50,000 square feet and we have 12 acres of land. So we have lots of places for parking, for building out a back lot. And we have plans for 4 more stages. So, and it's been and the public schools were great to work with. They were very flexible. They were so excited to have something in this community in far east, northeast Oklahoma City. As you probably know, it always gets sort of the back end of everything. So we're really excited to be out here, and the community is really happy to be on board. We've had a lot of success. We've had over 200 students already in our academy to learn crew jobs, and about 80% of them already have been on film sets, have gotten jobs, paying jobs on film sets. So we're very happy and excited about that.
That's wonderful. Ms. Lunnen, tell me a little bit about your background and how Oklahoma came to be on your radar as a hub for film and TV development. And I'd also like to know about your vision for Red Clay Studios in Tulsa.
Well, thank you. And again, thanks to the Film Commission for putting on this panel, because it's really nice to be able to speak to a lot of people. So I shot 2 films to answer your second question first. I shot 2 films in Oklahoma, one in 2017 and another in 2019. In the one in 2017, I shot in and around Oklahoma City. I first actually came upon it because I was going to film in another state, and I called Tava's office, and it was a very last minute thing. And this is one of the things that Tava's office is fantastic about, is working with filmmakers. But came and shot in Oklahoma City, really enjoyed myself. And then in 2019, had another film and came to Tulsa, decided to kind of, move around the state. But my background, I've spent over 20 years in film and television. The last, 5 years, I've been at Sony Pictures Television, an arm of Sony Pictures Television called Astronauts Wanted, as their head of production and development. Before that, I did a lot of independent producing. I worked for Capitol Films for a number of years. So in kind of that realm, Sony's been really, really good to me. And over the last couple of years, I was able to produce independent films on my vacation time. Us filmmakers, and I'm sure everyone on here we're just super eager and we love what we do. Which is why, I think everyone's so eager to promote and to, like Melanie, and get more people involved, because it does take a village to get something done. But yeah, I think in terms of what we're looking for Red Clay, we're here and we moved to Tulsa because we're, excited to see the film industry grow. Did I answer all of your questions correctly?
Yeah, I think so.
But you picked up your family and your whole career and you relocated from Los Angeles to Tulsa in September. I think that's important. Much like Rachel and Matt and myself, actually, being in Los Angeles and working pedal to the metal, but wanting set free from that and a better quality of life. And so I remember when you called and you're like, what do you think? This was a big deal, and you're sitting there just displaced out of work in Los Angeles. So I think that was a huge decision for you to just go all in. So, and then it wasn't just move your family. It wasn't just move. It was like, let's move and build a studio, Red Clay. So
yeah,
wanted to punctuate that.
I know you're so, it's spot on, because just, It is. It's definitely nerve wracking. I mean, I think we all had the same feeling because, again, it's rare you meet anyone from LA. I mean, we're all you know what I mean? Like we're all, moved to the city. And so it's that same like anxiety feeling of, will it work somewhere else? Obviously like being in LA so long, you're like, okay, well, it works here. I can keep having my career here. But, I think just like Rachel, with a family, you want to be able to give your kids that same kind of upbringing. I mean, I didn't grow up in Oklahoma. I grew up in Louisiana and Utah, like a good split. But I didn't have the LA upbringing. And I have to say, like, for my children, not to say that they were becoming like, I guess this is so LA, but like, I don't know. I just think it was a perfect move. And even though we didn't have any family here, which is funny, I think we didn't have any family in LA either, but it was an easy move because, obviously Tava, you were so welcoming. I think that was a big, big part of it, and having you become a friend. And I think that says a lot to all filmmakers. I have to say, I've shot in 39 states and you are one of my favorite film commissioners. So that's a big one. But yeah, I mean, all the people on this panel, it's like you can see that there is, it's growing. And when it's growing and then there's competition, that's what's going to attract even more people, right? And get more people going, like with, Prairie Surf in OKC, and with us up here, and Melodie and Richard and Green Pastures there. It's just, it allows for, more diversity and people to shoot more parts of the state. I think it's awesome. Anyways, that's what attracted me.
Yeah, if I could, I think that that's what's great about, we're out here and Rachel and Matt building downtown the bigger studio, the larger places, and Cassidy in Tulsa. Because yes, we all are in the same business, but it's not competition in the sense that we're all at different markets and we can complement each other. So if there's a big film or a smaller film, or even one that needs a different space or an extra space, we all have that capability. So that's great for Oklahoma. We're filming an awful lot here. Tava can give you all the numbers of films that have happened just in the last couple of years. So all of this is needed, and we're all going to keep pretty busy, I think. So Cassidy made a good choice, as did Rachel and Matt. So there you go.
And Mel, you're rural. Prairie Surf is obviously urban. Cassidy, I think, Steve, we were curious, right? Like, what can you share with our audience about your vision for the actual studio, Red Clay? Whatever you can share.
Yes, I mean, it's, I probably can't share everything yet, but it is exciting because we have landed on a piece of land that's 1,000 acres. And we're going, the goal is to build several sound stages and have a backlot, much like kind of like Disney Ranch. And the coolest thing about the property is that it has accommodations on it. So we can, we were looking at that because it provides that kind of COVID bubble, much like Tyler Perry. So we just loved that idea. We thought it was great, and to have that ability to, be in that space. But we're really excited, and it's close to the city, which is nice. I can't say where yet, but it's close. It's 10 minutes away from the city max. And so in that way, it provides convenience for shooting. Plus, the topography is really great.
Ms. Sofsky, looking back from your the time that you started as the director for the Oklahoma Film and Music Office, how do you think the industry's progressed in Oklahoma? What kinds of successes, especially we had in recently, and what kind of developments do you see in the future, and especially in the immediate future for Oklahoma, that people should be excited about?
Sure. I love how we we led with the big, exciting news that all of these team players and industry leaders are creating. I love that we're leading with that permanent infrastructure is what I think we've all been working towards. Even in the beginning, not really realizing that was eventually, we were eventually going to get here. You know, sometimes you're working so short term, we really are super excited about where we are right now. And it's for sure important to have more context and see how far we've come. So I'm happy to talk about that. You talked about immediate future. I just want to highlight real quick, just so that it doesn't get lost in this panel, is we are recording this on Friday, whatever date it is, January 29th. And 2021, and Sundance Film Festival just kicked off yesterday. And I was so fortunate as a sponsor of the Circle Cinema being chosen as a satellite venue this year, because of course Sundance can't occur full on in Park City. And our office has been going for 8 consecutive years. We've had films made in Oklahoma actually premiere at Sundance for 4 consecutive years, including this year, one that was shot in Oklahoma City. So we're usually in Park City right now. But I had the pleasure of seeing one of the greatest films I have ever seen, an independent film, Cassidy's Friend, believe it or not, because that's how this world works. It was called Coda. Small world.
Small world.
It's called Coda. I think Cassidy got to see it at Circle Cinema in the Kendall Whittier district, which we love, that independent theater. Thank you, Clark and Chuck and your entire team there. And visit Tulsa and the Tulsa Film Office of Music, Arts, and Culture, who just rolled out the red carpet. I got to see the movie at Admiral Twin Drive-In, but I just want to encourage, if you're listening, because I know this is live, go to circlecinema.org and get tickets. Get whatever tickets you can find. If last night's movie was any sort of indication of the quality of content that Sundance is putting on this year, like, you don't want to miss it. I mean, I'm under tourism right now, so go get a hotel, get takeout, go to the drive-in, go to Circle. There's social distancing
Very much
protocols.
So.
Yeah, they have to, right? We have to proceed safely. So I just wanted to highlight that if anybody's listening. Don't leave us yet, but go to circlecinema.org later. And so really, I think it's definitely important to look back. So when I came on board in 2014, and we had a film incentive in place since 2001. But in 2014, something really unique happened, is that our state legislature renewed our program for 10 years, which immediately sends the message in state, out of state, whoever you are, that, oh, Oklahoma's serious about this. They're not going anywhere, right? So that was a huge milestone for us. The only drawback, if there was one, was that the cap was very conservative. We didn't have a whole lot of money to recruit that big series like everybody wanted. But we've been working through that over the years. And a huge shout out to Jill Simpson, my predecessor, who worked tirelessly with filmmakers and the legislators for a decade before I came in. And when I started 2014, we were hosting an average of about 4 movies a year, with moderate or small budgets, probably under 5 million, injecting probably like a few $1 million into the economy each year. Now we have an average of 4 movies per month. 4 movies, an average of 4 movies per month. The budgets are going up, and we're talking hundreds of million injected into the economy. And that, when I say injected into the economy, I mean, it's into Oklahomans' pockets. It's to the small business. It's to the Oklahomans who are doing the lighting and doing the catering and driving the trucks and the cars for the actors and like all of this. It's not just the people in front of the camera. So lots of money has been spent in the state. The forecast this year is we already have a dozen projects in the queue, and the total estimated spend in state is 150 million. So just if you look back 6 years, we had an average of $6 million spent. Now we're at 150. So if that gives you any indication as to our trajectory, it's really the future. It looks really, really bright. And I just want to add, those numbers that I'm referring to are only the projects that are utilizing the state film rebate program. We have hundreds and thousands of other commercials, music videos, documentary, short films, lower budget features. And so, I mean, there's a lot of work, and we do permitting, and we do, we connect people to all the communities around the state for all of those kinds of projects, any size and scope. So, so there's a snapshot looking back and looking ahead.
Can I add to
I'm
that,
exhausted.
Tava? Because I was gonna say, the one thing that I think is really interesting that just in terms of Oklahoma, which benefits Oklahoma, is the way that you guys structured the bill, which I think is really smart. I mean, every producer might name it, but I think it's so smart because when you say that 150 million, it's not, I just wanted to say that I think it's smart because it's not just actors, like you were saying. It's not like the big actors that are making $20-50 million a movie, whatever that is. It's not, because you guys have that kind of protection where inside of a budget, it can't go over 25% of that budget, which is smart. So truly that 150 million is really in state. It's more in state spend, and it is the blue collar, grips, electrics, sound, like just throwing that out there.
True.
Great point.
Well, and that's really important because, the legislature, if you want them to continue, and I think Rachel and Matt can attest to, sometimes Hollywood doesn't get the best name. And so, and in recent elections, that was evident. So sometimes you have to educate them about, not everybody's that person, but here's what jobs can be created. And they're not just jobs for 2 weeks. Yeah, sometimes they're just on a movie that long, and then they go to the next movie. And if we keep having them coming in here, they always have the next movie that pay well, that get them benefits, all of those things. And it's not just an actor that's flying in for, a month and then is gone, never to be seen again. So it's important that, and so we've all formed this Oklahoma Motion Picture Association so that we can be up at the Capitol saying, hey, here's the things that are happening in Oklahoma in the film business. And this is why it's helpful. It's beneficial to the state, and it's beneficial to individuals. So it's not just to help us in our businesses, it's for everybody's benefit and all of Oklahoma. So it's really an exciting time. There's as Tava pointed out, I mean, how many more films? I don't know that we could take any more success at this point, but I'm happy for it to keep coming. But still, it's hard. It's very difficult to plug, but we're all excited about our job. So that's a good thing.
We're also not all pervy, like, child molesters.
I didn't want to go there, Cassidy. I was trying to avoid that particular sentence.
I mean, listen,
But
just on this panel alone, the women are coming up in this industry. Check out this panel alone. Do you know what I mean? So just saying.
Okay, all right.
Ask,
Come on, Steve.
for some comments about
Try to recover from that one, bud.
how important sound stages are to the importance in terms of necessary infrastructure to support Oklahoma's growing film industry. And I might to try to get my next question in here also. You guys are real good for just going off in different directions. But, Mr. Payne and Ms. Cannon, can you talk a little bit about the importance of the community, and specifically, I'm talking about Oklahoma City, in turning that Cox Convention Center into Prairie Surf Media? Tell us a little bit more about your facilities there and what you're offering to the industry, especially in the OKC area. Are you guys still with me?
I think it's frozen.
Well, somebody want to talk about the importance of sound stages? Ms. Garneau, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. There's a lot to, as we pointed out, if you got a film here, it's great to have outside locations, which we have many beautiful ones, like the one behind Tava, even now. But we also know that, you have to film inside, you have to make sets, you have to stay out of the rain.
Yeah.
So the sound stages are really important. And in the movie business, and I'm not an expert in this, so I leave Cassidy and the rest, and Rachel and Matt and Tava to discuss that. But if every time you have to move from one spot to the next to film, it costs money. And a lot of it, and you want to avoid that if you can. So the sound stages become very important, big and small, and there's a lot that goes into making them. We spend a lot of money putting the sound matting and all of that on the sound stage, putting in the 16-foot elephant doors so the semis can come in there, and in recent days putting in COVID filters so people can feel comfortable when they're filming in there. So it's important to have the sound stages so that people don't have to move from one space. They don't film here outside for a little while and then move off to Albuquerque or Atlanta. Go back to Rachel and Matt, since they're back and you really asked them the question.
Yeah, did y'all hear what I had asked?
Yeah.
Yeah, that you were asking about the city, the role that the city played in us getting into this place. Is that what you're asking?
Especially the Cox Convention facilities there.
Yeah. So, when we first came and looked at this space, Matt and I had spent, a year almost looking for warehouses that we could convert, looking at something that was big enough to be able to prove out the concept that that infrastructure really would make a big difference here. And so when the conversation came up about the Cox Convention Center being available because they were building a new convention center right across the street, we came in and looked at the space. And again, we're standing in the middle of stage 4 right now, which is 32,000 square feet on the floor and 65 feet to the catwalk. And you can hang about 25,000 pounds from the catwalk. So toss a couple of helicopters up there, if you want to. But, really what they can do is put a green screen around and you can create any world you want in here. You can build a 3-story brownstone and then put it in the middle of anywhere in the world that you want that to happen. You can build a spaceship. You can build, anything. And the thing that we love about this is because of the flexibility of it having a live audience seating, you can do, so if we want to do a hockey movie in here, well, we have the hockey floor. You can turn that into an ice rink and grab the Zamboni from the back and pull it out. You can put a basketball floor in here and film a basketball film. But you can also do a live audience show. So coming from my sitcom background, the idea of actually doing a multicam sitcom in here where you can sell tickets and get Oklahoma to come and be a part of what we're trying to do here. Everything that Matt and I have tried to do in this space is about being inclusive and welcoming Oklahoma to be part of this journey. So
I think what's when people think of the Cox Convention Center that are from Oklahoma, they think of this arena, which is where I saw Milli Vanilli, back in the 80s. I still like them. I don't care if they lip sync. I thought they were good. But behind, so this stage, I walk into it. It reminds me of the size of the stage at Warner Brothers, stage 14, where they shot Indiana Jones and those big, huge budget movies. This stage is very much like that. But what less people think about is there's 80,000 square feet on the other side of this building that is just clear span. So it naturally divides into 3 sound stages. So when I think about the shows that I worked at Warner Brothers, Without a Trace being the main one, but every show that I worked on, there's typically 2 stages per show, allocated per show. And so what we have behind us are 25,000 square feet, 32,000 and 25,000. And to give you an idea of how that functions, you have your permanent sets for television shows, which is really what we hope to get here because it provides long-term jobs. We're all about sustainability. But then you have the ability to have swing sets and mills on different stages. So the building naturally cuts up very, very well. It lends itself to multiple productions. And we're getting to watch that now with American Underdog using us as kind of one of their hubs for their production. So it's a really exciting time for us here. And it's cool that that everybody else on this panel is doing it in different ways. We think of ourselves as an Oklahoma business as much as an Oklahoma City business.
That's great. I'd like to know a little more too about Green Pastures and Red Clay. Ms. Garneau, can you talk a little bit about your facilities and what you can offer film and TV production in Oklahoma? And what are some of your successes so far?
Well, yes, I can actually. So as I said, we had local contractors. We all built the soundstage, which you can see behind me, part of it anyway. We finished recently with the soundproofing and so forth and all the doors. So we have a second studio that we're working on that is entirely psych wall is going in. So for all the green screens and motion capture and that sort of thing, we have some partnerships with OCU and Langston to do some films for them for their projects they're working on, some legislators as well. And so those have been great successes. We also, so we have Green Pastures Studio and we have Oklahoma Film and Television Academy. So they're two separate things, but of course, obviously they work well together. But recently, so there's a film, am I allowed to say Unbreakable Boy? I've said it, so there you go. So they're gonna do, so they had to do some scenes. They want to do some scenes where they're sort of flying across the room with the green screen all around it. So we made sure that the ceiling could hold enough weight for all of these, and they could, it's a foot of concrete, so it's not that difficult. But so that success, we have the Oval Office set from the Reagan movie that filmed recently in Guthrie. That's here, and we're putting it up. So because we're going to do some other scenes using it, and so that's been a success. We filmed Finding Carlos, which is the musical movie version of the Hip Hop Nutcracker in Oklahoma. So those have been very great. But our other successes have been for our students. We have this, I don't know where this could happen in LA, but where we sit is on a road there's a lot of people with horses and cows and whatever. But these guys, 3 guys just rode up on their horses, literally in front of our building. And it was a dad and his 2 sons. And he then eventually took our courses. He's been on, I don't know how many movies now. And he's on, what's the one they're filming about Kurt Warner, the Kurt Warner story, whatever that is. Been on several. So it's really an interesting mix. But we have the green screen psych walls. We have the sound stage that's ready. And we're in springtime, we're going to start construction on the second or the third, I guess, stage, which is that one's going to be about 12,000 feet. And then we have plans for 4 more outside and some other property that we're purchasing close by. So there's plenty of room. We have we have our kit trucks, so you can rent those out while you're filming the movie and don't have to go all over the place to find them. So, and the community has been absolutely on board with us. As I said, Langston has been a partner. The people of Spencer are always dropping by saying, hey, if you need to film outside at a, cattle, whatever, or a ranch house or something, come on over and I have a pond. And so everybody's very excited to be, our business is about getting jobs for folks and getting the community, especially this part of the city community up and running again. So our success is theirs as well. So we're very happy about that.
Ms. Lunnen, can you talk a little bit about Red Clay Studios and what it might mean for Tulsa? And I need to, I guess, apologize a little bit. I'm not real sure. Somebody asked about post-production, and I don't know if post-production is accomplished in the kinds of soundstage studio environments that you guys are talking about, or how we're fixed for post-production in Oklahoma. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
You're muted, Cassidy. You're muted.
Thanks. Thanks, Melody. Yeah, so I mean, what Red Clay has to offer is very similar to what Melody and Prairie Surf is offering, just on this side of the state. So in terms of, I think there's a few things that we have. We're going to have stages. We're early on, and we're much earlier on in our process than both Green Pastures and Prairie Surf. Like Tava said, and like I said before, I've only been here for 3 months. So we're moving pretty fast, but, we hope to have the stages built by the end of next year, or the end of this year into next year. It's 2021. Anyways, and but you can film on the facilities, on our facilities in the land now. So currently I have a film that I'm doing right now and we're using those facilities and our accommodations, which is awesome. In terms of like what Red Clay has in terms of the state, my partner Cowboy, well, it's funny enough, in LA, Cowboy is a good nickname. Here, it's just like one in many. So I might have to start calling him Craig by his first name. But Craig has been in the industry. He's been my partner for a long time and been on my hip for a long time. And he's a very well-known key grip in the industry. And, with him as my partner was the reason for opening Stages is he is familiar. I mean, he did every movie that you can think of, like Caddyshack. He's key gripped a lot of stuff like that. So,
he's been around for a while.
He's been around the block. Like Melodie, he doesn't like you to tell him that. So,
Stop.
But the great thing about having Cowboy as a partner is we have the latest state-of-the-art gear, LED 20 foot LED panels and mats, and we have super techno cranes. All the geeky film people will know what I'm talking about. We've got we've got cable cams, we've got all the just really state-of-the-art stuff, which is great. We have all that equipment ready and gearing to go. We've also partnered up with a lot of equipment houses in LA, so that companies, a lot of these big places can still have that kind of, we won't run out of equipment. Let's just put it that way. So like the nice thing about, hey, someone wants to come in and, I mean, listen, if they have the money and want to get 5 techno cranes, great, we'll have them. Do you know what I mean? So that's the great part, is we want to up Oklahoma's ante to that kind of, and I don't want to say Georgia, but you know what I'm talking about, that kind of level where we can handle all of those kind of bigger budgets. So, besides the stages and the backlot and the equipment, we also have cameras as well. Again, and then
Does that all play into post-production then, or not?
No. So leading into that, we are going to have post-production facilities. We're partnering with a post-production house currently. And my husband actually is mainly in AR and VR, and there's a lot of post-production. So he's currently putting together the post-production house. And there are some post-production houses, and Tava can speak to that here. I know of quite a few, but in terms of, we do need to build more post-production. That is a need that Oklahoma will build, but it is not kind of part of like what we're doing. This group is more Stages, although we will have post-production facilities. Editing and post-production can go on for years. I mean, those are people sitting in a dark room, not my type of filming, but like, dark room, getting it all done, color, sound. That's what post-production is, right? Color, sound, visual effects, music, everything that makes, there's like so many beautiful stages, development, the actual production, and then post-production. And they all bring their own life to a film. Tava, I'm going to let you talk about that.
I can just add on to that. And Steve, I'll help you out. I'm watching the chat room. I think George, hi George. We've got a few questions. I think I can answer some of these rolled up into one. So we've had questions about like, where's the best camera rental house in Oklahoma City, in Tulsa? The post-production questions. Do you see post being Avid exclusively? Is Adobe an option, etc.? What would you say for somebody wanting to get into the post side of the business? And so I would say first, you can hopefully see my URL above my head here. If not, it's okfilmmusic.org. So being the state film and music office, and by the way, a huge shout out to the Tulsa Film Music Arts and Culture Office. They are the city film office based in Tulsa, as well as the first and only, as far as I know, tribal film office, Cherokee Nation, also based in Tulsa, and they have an office in Tahlequah. So they also have their own databases and directories for equipment, for crew, all the talent, etc. So just a plug for them. Us being the state office, what you'll find on our website, we've got a production directory. It has all of the crew all around the state. Anybody that we have been able to ping and get to register. So for example, Cowboy, who Cassidy's just talking about, I'm like, come on, Cowboy, we need you in the directory. Like, you want to work? Because that is the go-to place where filmmakers look to hire crew. And then there is the support services for film. And that is where you're going to find all of the camera, the grip, the electric, the wardrobe, the everything, the post houses, the recording studios, so you can score your film or television show also here in Oklahoma using Oklahoma-based crew. And so it's important just to sort of point out, I mean, you're not going to hear from me anyway, who's the best, because honestly, they all offer different things. It's just, I mean, it's a perfect example of this panel is that there's not one better, greater, different. It's, we have such a diverse group. We have a diverse culture in Oklahoma. I mean, our people, our landscapes, I mean, just look, 12 ecosystems and 39 tribes. We have 34 state parks. I mean, we've got everything. And the smaller, boutique, maybe post houses or camera houses, there's gonna be a smaller maybe job for them, right? And then there's the bigger one. And so I'm not gonna name drop the different companies, but I would just encourage if anybody's interested. Now, if somebody says, Tava, who was the UPM or who was the camera rental house on I Can Only Imagine or on American Underdog? I mean, we can answer those questions all day long, connect them with the producers, and then they get to hear about how the crew or how that vendor was. So that's kind of our role, is connecting all these dots and putting these resources in one place for people to access. We have the same thing for music and locations. There's a music directory, which has talent and all the music businesses. So post facilities you're going to find there as well. I will say that I had seen in the past 2 years with my own eyes, a new arm of a recording studio develop into a post production arm just because of the business. Because people were coming in this studio and they were recording, they were doing their scoring for their film that they made in Oklahoma, and they saw the need for the post sound and all of that. And so so we've got it all, and honestly, every day, every week, there's new companies coming here, and our local businesses are expanding. So all of these facilities will have, as they're talking about, will have all those resources within. So I think I answered some of those questions. I mean, post is definitely an expanding sector.
Oh, shucks, Tava, I thought you liked me best, and you always said you liked me best, Mom.
I love you all. Yeah,
I can answer some of those questions.
Yeah, hang on one sec, if you don't mind, Miss Cassidy.
No,
I was just going to say that those are excellent questions. I mean, everybody, all of us, all three other stage people on this call, well, eventually you want it to be a sort of a one-stop shop, right? So you will have those, but you won't be able to always handle all the business. I mean, a lot of the times it's going to be the people that film in your stage, obviously, but then there'll be other times that people just need somewhere for their posts. So that's one thing we're working on with the Cherokee Nation and putting one here. We're working on a grant with them to do some facilities here for posts with the screening room and editing suite and all of that, and some our other stage is going to be, as I said, the site with the green screen I noticed someone asked a question about like Mandalorian, which is not filmed on a huge stage at all. It's like 5,000 or 6,000 feet. One of the other ladies could probably pick that up, but post is very important, and it's a huge business all by itself, and whatever other stuff you do. So we all have that in our minds to do. It's just not film. It's not on a sound stage per se. It's a separate kind of thing. So I don't know if that helps or not.
We've got just about 10 minutes left, and I'm going to bow out real quick, but I want to ask 2 questions, and then I'm just going to let you guys talk for a little on your own. But the first one might be kind of tough. What do we need to do here in Oklahoma to get people in different states to envision or to categorize Oklahoma like they do. You mentioned Vancouver, Rachel, and also Atlanta when you first started talking. They have reputations already for being industry hubs, powerhouse even in industry hubs. And I'd like to see that reputation in Oklahoma. What more can we do? That's question number one. And then number two, if y'all can just talk about some of the advice you might offer to young people that are considering careers in the industry here in Oklahoma. And now I'm just going to let you guys talk for a while.
Yeah. So, great questions. You know, I think for us to really grow as an industry, you know, to be anecdotal, we've had some conversations with some big streamers, and we have a ton of space here that's pretty close to ready to go. What they ask about is they ask about incentives next, and then they ask about workforce. And I think, you know, sound stages, if we think of a sound stage as a manufacturing hub, you know, a manufacturing hub does not work unless it is filled with capable workers, you know, and employees. And I think like that's where the real opportunity lies for Oklahoma. I mean, this industry serves a lot of different purposes, I think. But really what we want to do is we want to get people to work, and we want to train a next generation of filmmakers kind of concurrently. And there are lots of different industries where jobs, you know, kind of, you can pivot from oil and gas into film and television. You can pivot from the military into film and television. We have we have universities and career techs that can train people. But I think, you know, growing our workforce, growing our infrastructure, I think selling our state is important. You know, I think, you know, we have these amazing resources here. It's a beautiful state, and people don't understand Oklahoma. So I think, you know, what we need to do is we need to sell our state. We need to sell our workforce. We need to grow our workforce. We need to invest in our people, and invest in facilities. I mean, I think that's really how you do this. And then invest in the next generation. Those are the most important things.
And if you look at Pinewood in the UK, which is one of the most successful studios, the reason is because you have the sound stages, and there are 300 businesses that surround it that touch the industry. And so, you know, as we are building up our state offerings in the film industry, that's how we're going to get to where we compete with the Vancouvers or the Atlantas. You know, we had a client come and look at filming everything in Oklahoma. They had a film slate with 9 films that they wanted to bring here and film over a 3-year period. And they were set to go to Montreal. And we were like, just pause for 1 second and look at Oklahoma, and let us tell you why everything that they offer, we can build. And you know, we really have that capability to compete with those. We just have to build the infrastructure that supports it. And the great thing that Matt said is we have tons of land. We have so much space to grow. We have a hardworking community. I've never met a more hardworking group of people than Oklahomans. So we know that we can fill all the gaps. It's just going to take everybody knowing that there's a place for them at the table, and people being willing to take the classes, to learn, to ask the questions, to find out how they can be a part of this community, because the film community is tremendous. There are so many different people that fill that manufacturing plant for a movie to get made. It's not just actors and directors. It is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. So
I think one more thing to circle back to something Cassidy said earlier, but I think is really important, is this is not an actors and directors business. You know, this isn't Hollywood coming to get rich. That is not the way we think about this. We think about this as standing up a vertical that touches lots of other industries in Oklahoma. You know, this is about construction workers and lighting people and sound. It's about these are technical skills, and these are the people that we want to employ in this. Like this room alone that we're in, this 32,000 square foot room, they have to build sets in here to make this work. That's hundreds of construction workers to make our facility actually fun. That's a lot of jobs, and that's, I think, the most important thing.
Now, I will say that we have, and then I'll give it to Cassidy, we have added, and we have people working now because we have a standing set, because we're starting to film a series in March. So we have a standing set that anybody will be able to rent out for a school and a hospital and a police station, so forth. But those things are built and they'll be there. But as Matt points out, there's always construction jobs that are going to happen when we have to expand any of it, including Cassidy up there in Tulsa. So there's going to be plenty of jobs in this industry, and we are really, really excited about that.
I think another
Since
thing,
oil is not there anymore.
and sorry didn't mean to step on you, Mel, but we're talking about jobs that are on film specifically. But when you talk about 1,000 acres of land, or, you know, our goal is similar. I mean, we want to grow into a 200-acre campus, you know, similar to Pinewood, and there are hundreds of lot jobs. You know, these are like, the studios themselves employ people as well as the industry, and the economic impact goes well beyond that. I mean, when you think about, like, we have that American Underdogs going on here, and they needed artificial turf, you know, and a friend of mine has a turf company, and so suddenly you have this turf company, and suddenly here's a film that wants to buy hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of turf. You know, it's amazing the people that are touched by the film industry. The magnitude is enormous. So.
Yeah, I echo all of that. We talk collectively, and I think we've trained Lieutenant Governor and many of our champions out there. We're all, I think the through line and the collective message is that in order to, and I don't think that Oklahoma, I think everybody has their own unique attributes to their state, their jurisdiction, if for any business, but you know, we want to be uniquely Oklahoma. I mean, yes, we want to be, you know, a hub. We are a hub. We are a destination. We are that already. I think what we're all saying is, in order to grow this, in order to grow and create more jobs and all of these opportunities, and tell the world that we do really think we have something special here, and we do offer on a silver platter heartland hospitality, is that we have to continue growing these three legs of the stool, again, which we're all talking about, which is a strong workforce, a strong infrastructure, which also, it's not just the sound stages, it's also these small businesses, the vendors, the post facilities, and also community infrastructure. If our communities, you know, aren't ready to receive and don't know how to permit, and I mean, we've got to also equip our communities so that infrastructure, permanent infrastructure that nobody can take away, nobody can dig up. So the workforce, the infrastructure, and then the incentive. I mean, everybody looks at the bottom dollar. And so thanks to, you know, our state leadership and legislature for believing in this industry, I think more people are truly accepting and realizing that this is such a great, as Matt said, a new vertical. It's an emerging generation, and in times like that we're all in right now, we have to diversify. And so advice to anybody wanting to step into this industry, I'll just kind of close out, and as anybody else wants to give a last word here before we dial out, is go to our website at okfilmmusic.org. Under film, go to Getting Started, go to that Getting Started tab. Under music, go to Getting Started. And there's so many great resources right there for you to just tap in. Subscribe to our newsletter. We have e-blasts going out daily, multiple, I think daily, just for crew calls, for extra calls. There's another big movie going on in the Northeast part of the state. They need extras. You know, crew, there's so many news releases going out and opportunities for people to step in and join the action. So thank you. Thanks to all of our panelists here, and thank you to Steve. Anybody else? Any final words?
I do. I have one more thing, because I saw it on the list of chats, which is someone was asking about how they can get it into their rural towns and communities. And Tava, I'm just throwing it right back at you, which is to answer that question of how to get the filmmakers to look at their town. Tava's got an answer for that. Which is your okay, so Tava's got where she's got a program that she's starting with some of these cities and towns to be able to attract them to your individual towns is signing up, putting that city and town underneath the Oklahoma website, because as producers, we don't know your town exists. And we, because we don't have the resources, especially during COVID, to go look all over, the state. Yeah. So if you have pictures of your town, if you want your business to be considered a filming location, register with the Oklahoma. That helps producers. That helps build that three-legged stool that Tava was talking about, so that more people come here and so that more people are attracted to your area. And you can create what I think is so interesting. I'm talking fast. What you can do is create what the state's already done. There's 3 film commissions, technically, right? There's the state with Tava, there's Tulsa, and there's the Cherokee Film Commission. So there's other ways to kind of like get that community. And then the last thing I will say is call your representative from where you live, because that is a big one. And that's how you get recognized. And that's how we go out there. Do you know what I mean? Like, these small cities, especially that are even closer to the big cities, it will just start moving outward towards these rural areas. And the last question, because we didn't answer it, which was young people getting involved, those 3 resources right there, Cherokee Film Office, the Oklahoma State Film Office in Tulsa, that is the best way to get involved, because they always put out bulletins. It's who I look to as a producer for my aid to say, hey, can you put out a blast? And, I need crew, I need this. And so just as a, like Tava said, that's the best place to get started.
Yeah. And I put the film friendly link. I put the film friendly link in the chat box, but that's a new program that we're launching this month. So yeah, we've got lots of links there. If we missed a question, email my office. All of our emails are on our website. Steve, anything else?
No, I might just mention that we had a story in the paper the other day about a program that you guys are launching to a kind of a webinar, not webinar, but on an online education for kids. It's all the high schools around the state will be able to check out these different occupations, and I think that's a wonderful place to go from also. And I would suggest, I doubt you have a lot of free time at your various studios, but to have field trips when the kids start taking field trips again, to have them come by and check you out. Great idea. That would be in my view, would be a good thing to do too. But again, this is the second time I've gotten to facilitate a panel like this, and it's really interesting and an exciting time for Oklahoma. I would sure hope that we can develop a reputation, that they know about us in Singapore and in different places around the world and all over our country for being a film and TV hotspot in Oklahoma. I'm finished. I appreciate you guys' time, and I wish that you all continue to have good luck and develop our industry here in Oklahoma.
Thanks so much for having us, Steve.
Thanks for having us.
And Steve and Sarah, is there a way to access the questions just to make sure we didn't miss any after the panel, to make sure we get all of those questions answered?
I don't know.
I'm not sure if we covered them all.
If Sarah's still on, I will send them, Sarah says.
Okay. Great.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Come see us in Oklahoma.
Have a good rest of the day.
Bye.